Joining us now in the studio is former UFC champion and now Vice President of ONE FC, Rich Franklin. Good evening and welcome to Sports Desk.
Thanks for having me on.
Let's start with your history. I mean, it's nice to have you here. It's awesome to have you here on this show. But we were talking earlier, and the answer you gave me was a little bit of a surprising one. I asked you which fights or what fight that stands out the most from your career.
I always talk about a fight that most people don't bring up. It was when I fought Travis Lutter. I fought him in Montreal. And that was one of those fights that when my coaches and I, we game planned, when you game plan, like you're trying to predict what your opponent is going to do, and you're either right or you're wrong. And in this case, we were right. And basically, we set up, like we broke down film, and we said he's going to do this, and then this, and this, and so on. And we did all these drills. And basically, in the fight, I had all the answers that I needed, but it was failed execution at every point. And I ended up in the worst possible scenario that I could have been in. This fight was probably my worst winning performance. But I ended up in the worst situation I could have been in, and I mentally broke. It was a point in I just said, I'm going to lose this fight. And I found a way out of the situation, and I ended up winning the fight. But it's one of those fights that really showed me who I was as a fighter, like what kind of mentality, that I had the mentality of a champion. And I always tell people it's easy, like people will come to me and say, oh, I love this knockout, or I love that knockout. And it's easy to have a nice highlight reel when you're winning with first round knockouts and easy fights that you're in control of, but when you're really tested, that's what shows you who you are as a person.
You also mentioned a while ago that you talk a lot about a game plan, but against your fight with Liddell, he just messed up your game plan at the end of the.
Yeah, we come out and he throws a kick at about the 1 minute mark of the fight, and he broke the ulna in my left arm. And he looked great that fight as well, but it completely mentally took me off my game plan, and I went from how do I win this fight to how do I escape this round and let my coaches know that my arm is broken, as if they're going to have some sort of miraculous answer. Like, well, in case of broken arm, it says in the manual we should go here. But fortunately, I landed a nice overhand right before the end of the round and caught him and knocked him out. And so. But yeah, it's another one of those fights that was just, you really have to overcome some adversity.
So during your career with the UFC, I mean, you've obviously had some great success, and then one setback that we talked about also off air was the one against Anderson Silva.
Yep.
With the first fight and the second fight, talk about the difference between those two fights for you.
Well, the first fight, I had been doing everything in my camps the way that I had been, and listen, when you're on top, it's easy to kind of underestimate your opponents and become maybe slightly arrogant, for lack of a better word. I was very confident, like in my clinch work for that fight, and I kind of overlooked the fact that the clinch work that Anderson does is different than any other fighter that I'd fought at the time, and I didn't spend a whole bunch of time training that, and it showed in the fight when you see it. We go back to the drawing board, and that's when I started working with Matt Hume as my coach and looked at not changing my coaching staff because I wasn't displeased with what they were doing, but just getting kind of an outside perspective. And we went back to the drawing board, and if you look at the second Anderson fight, like I was really happy with my first round performance. I think I probably would have won that round, except I got clipped right at the end of the round, and it basically stole the round from me, and you can't come out seeing double in a second.
It's like seeing 16.
He moves so well, you already see two of them anyway. So.
When you belong in the ranks of these legends, when you talk about MMA, UFC, and all these names are up there, including yours, and then you see a fighter like Anderson Silva break his leg. And you're no stranger. I mean, you got kicked in the arm, you broke your arm. When it comes to injuries like that, especially something like Anderson Silva's, as a fellow fighter, what goes through your head when you see someone that you fought with, someone that you respect, go through that?
It's crazy. I was watching it on TV, but we even had like Phil Baroni fought in one of our the one fight, and if you've seen the clip of that, the ONE FC fight that he had, and his I think it was his right ankle, it folded all the same. And I hate seeing that kind of stuff because especially like either the Anderson kick, it wasn't a hard kick. Like it wasn't like he was like swinging with devastating fashion in that leg, or like Phil's just kind of stepped back and the leg folded. And when you see things like that, it really reminds you of how easily a major injury can happen, and I hate seeing that because I'm like, gosh, sometimes I watch my fights and I see the things that I go through, and then when I see how easily somebody else is injured majorly, I'm like, man, that's the potential that that can possibly happen, but you never think about that stuff when you're in the situation.
Yeah, now you've gone from a great career with the UFC. Now you're vice president of operations for the ONE FC. How did this come about? How did you make the transition?
Several years ago, I had come down to Singapore, taught a seminar at an MMA school down there at Evolve MMA, and I liked the school, so I ended up conducting part of several camps at the school after that. And during one of my trips there, I actually met Victor Cui, who is the CEO of One Fighting Championship, and was just introduced to the right people. And there was just a comment made about if I was ever interested in a position working for them in the future to, we'd sit down and talk. And it was kind of a passing comment at the time, and I'm still really in the thick of my fight career. But then as time progressed, it started becoming reality, and so I really started looking at that as a realistic option. And I like what I saw with the organization. Clear goals, laser focused, highly motivated, intelligent people that I'm working with. I like the team of people that I have, and I like where the company is headed. So it was just a natural fit for me to come on board.
So I know we're going to have to wrap it up, but on December 5. We have, obviously, Brandon Vera was here.
Yes.
But the fight card was pretty much blank, except for Brandon Vera.
Yes.
But now it's full.
Oh, it's stacked.
Yeah.
December 5, Mo Arena. And Brandon's on the card. He's fighting Igor Sabora. We have a great bantamweight title match, Viviana Fernandez and Danwei Kim. But the whole card is just a great card. There's 7 Filipinos on the card, and it's going to be a really, really exciting night of fight. So if you're not there, I'm telling you now, you're going to miss an electric arena.
All right.
Yeah, because also in those cards we have some familiar names: Edward Folayang,
Yes.
Honorio Banario, and of course Ana Hulaton.
Yeah.
So come on, support fellow Filipinos here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being here. Stay around because we want to get your input in our topic tonight.